and welcome back to Derailed. This is Season 1, Episode 16. My name is Gregory, and as always, I'm joined by two very fine gentlemen, Harrison and Adash. What's up?
Oh, baby Beller.
Alright, I'm degrading you down from gentlemen to peasants.
How the tables have turned.
Even better.
Okay. Today it is Adash's turn to choose the topic, and he left a key in our private messages for me to guess. Well, not for me to guess, so he could remember, but he did challenge me to guess what it would be. And I just don't have a guess. It's Li space PH. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's me, but all I could think was Pornhub for the PH.
Yeah,
Li
very
space PH.
Yeah.
Now, if you were scientifically inclined, you would have noticed
lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, you would have noticed Li is lithium and pH is phosphate.
I did think PH.
Wait.
Phosphate, but I don't know how that's
that has
relevant.
absolutely nothing to do with my topic.
Yeah.
The topic is it's life philosophies. So to be more specific,
That's gay.
to be more specific, it's what.
Yeah, that's gay.
What
I veto this topic. Just kidding.
Okay. It's what is your
Philosophy on life.
well, it's what's. Because there is no one singular meaning to life. Everyone has their own.
Yeah, there
and
is.
so I want to
Shit
know
and
what.
die.
That's
that could be
Harry's life philosophy, is that he thinks there's only one correct fact.
So basically, it's
Truly
just what is your life
Hitler of our
philosophy?
generation.
What is your reason to live?
Say that.
And Harry, if your reason to live is nothing, then you have 3 days to come up with a reason to live, and give me that instead. I'm not accepting no life,
Harry,
no meaning to life.
Say you want to live.
No.
That's a reference neither of you will get.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, technically Harry should get it, but whatever. Yeah. So.
Oh
Okay,
wait,
so,
is that for Robin?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So by life philosophy, do you mean like outlook on? So you said something to what to live for. So like motivation.
Or like how you should live your life, or is it just
or just like
so
world
I say-
perspective, how you view.
I think it's more of
our
like
place.
what drives how you live life, like
Okay.
the overarching decisions you make for like what you want to do, why you want to do certain things, like what drives that.
So it is kind of motivation then.
Yeah,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah, okay.
Now, are we looking at an individual?
See, if you asked this
size?
question like 6 years ago, just be like, motivation. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Which is I think we could do better than that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. What was your question?
I think it'll be. Oh yeah, go on.
We kind
I
of
was like-
trampled over it.
Is it? Are we looking on an individual or like a larger scale type?
It's
I
just
think
yours,
individual,
personal.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, I can say what your motivation is.
Well, I mean, like larger scale is like the like as a society or like.
Well, I think
No.
everyone's different is the thing, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't really work on a larger
I don't know your
scale.
perspective of how life should be for.
Oh, that's what my question was before. It was just like, are we looking at like a really? But I think he means just like what drives you forward in your daily life, sort of thing.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you have 3 days to have a deep self-reflection on that.
I like how we flip flop. I think it's my fault, but I like how we always flip flop between like super deep topics and then just like this is the mini game of this week.
Yeah.
But I think
be
that's me
fair,
because I'm always the one who chooses the mini game.
You've had the bangers, so the YouTube algorithm bangers. So, but
I think
my
first
strong
one
suit is
was
not that. So
a little less mini gamey, but after that, it just kind of became what's the
well,
game.
I
this week?
tried and I'm not good at that. So this is I'll
Well,
stick to this.
we need some introspective episodes to intersperse the mini games. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely
Okay.
curious about this because I was thinking about what drives me forward, and I was like, well, I wonder what you, because I'm sure it's different.
Harry
but
most
I
of
was
the
wondering.
time.
Wait, what?
Oh, okay. That's sweet.
You know,
No, I mean like he literally drives you around.
Okay. Oh wow.
True.
You know.
Wait. Nope, I don't have a buttons. Never mind. I'll go for this one.
Very nice.
Thank you.
That's so fucking delayed. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna mute that whole section, so it just sounds like
No, we'll cut it together so it works. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Time to think.
Fuck.
Before we get to that, any news from the past week?
Nothing besides I have heavily, and I mean heavily, procrastinated on my capstone. I have done nothing.
Nice.
Damn.
Perfect for today's topic. Yeah, I mean, this is like our first week back from Vancouver, so it's just like readjusting back to normal schedules and stuff, I think. Most of my students are gearing up for orchestra auditions, but I don't have the students that are like super intensive about caring about that sort of thing. So like all my mom students are like, oh, we want 3 extra lessons this week. Oh, I want 8 extra lessons this week.
8?
Yeah. I want one every day and then 2 on Sunday.
Yeah.
What's the point?
It's actually insane though. Yeah, like audition days, it's like when students just start going, or their parents.
It's not even just like lessons. It's more of like you just watch us practice and monitor us practice.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. But my students are just like, I just started this piece and I want to play it for the audition. That's in 3 weeks. And I'm like, I mean, I'll do my best to help you, but I cannot promise you good results.
That is wild.
That's like all my students. Like none of them care that much.
Nursery rhymes or stuff. Like if any piece that has like, I mean, my only experience is piano, so I don't know what the violin equivalent is, but like any piece that has both hands used, if it's like a page or longer, I don't know if you can learn how to do it well in like a week. Or
you know the worst part is 2 of them like are definitely like not really ready for these orchestras yet, but they want to audition anyway. So we're basically having to force them into playing. If you don't know how the Suzuki book thing works, Adash, basically when you first start violin, a lot of beginner teachers use what's called the Suzuki books, and it's just a collection of really easy pieces.
Yeah.
From,
Keyboard
like,
has the same thing. Piano has the same thing.
Yeah. So most of my students are around Suzuki book 1 to 2 because I have a lot of.
Does this have any relation to the bike brand by chance? I know that sounds wild to say, but Yamaha.
So Suzuki.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Don't know. Actually, I actually should have.
I don't think so, but there's a possibility for sure.
Again, they do pianos. So you're like,
because there's the Suzuki.
If only I had a motorcycle to take this piano back with. And they're like,
and then there's the Suzuki
don't
method,
worry, fam.
and I do want to talk about the Suzuki method in a second because I think it's hilarious. But anyway, So most of my students are on like Suzuki book 1 or 2. So 2 of them are auditioning for the audition, and everyone else that's auditioning, like they even say in the email, you're supposed to choose pieces from book 3 in 2. So I have like students that are on Suzuki book 1 that I had to give pieces in Suzuki book 3 since they want to audition, and I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna be interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, at least they have pretty good basics because the way me and my mom teach is just like we start slow because we're making sure that their basics are really good. So like a lot of my Suzuki book 1 students are better than the new student I got that is on Suzuki book 3. Just because like her basics are just not good. So she's just been tearing through
I feel like
pieces
that's
by
how
not playing them well.
How you learn any skill though. Like it's
supposed to be.
You start really bad and then like you don't try to make immediate improvements, rather than you try to you try to get really good at the basics and just kind of stay there till you master them, and then you go for the other stuff.
That's the best way to learn things, but with kids it's like they don't have the motivation if they're just stuck playing scales all the time, so you kind of have to give them a little bit of
that is fair.
variety,
I hate it. Scales and
arpeggios.
The grind.
Anyway, do you know about the Suzuki method?
No.
Do you know, Harry?
I don't think so.
Is it really bad that my mind thought is that like a WW2 Japanese war crime thing? But
You're not that far off. No, I'm just kidding. No, so Suzuki, the guy who made the books that compile
And the
all
motorcycles.
those, yeah. Maybe, we don't know. He also created what's called the Suzuki method, and it's a method that goes with the book, but most people from what I've seen who use the book don't actually use the method because the method's interesting. So it's just a style of learning / teaching things that's like, what's the best way to explain it? It's like Common Core. You know how Common Core became a thing in academics?
Oh yeah.
And it kind of just lowered the standard for everyone so that everyone could stay at the same pace.
So
it's
the
kind
no
of like
child
that.
left behind policy.
Yeah. So it's not like individual teaching. It's the teachers in the Suzuki method teach like a group of students. I think they do get individual lessons, but like the way it works is that everyone has to stick to the same like pieces. And then they all like sort of graduate from the piece together in like a performance. And it's like, it's an interesting teaching method. I think most people don't agree with it, but like you can debate on whether that's helpful or not. But
I don't think
the
you
main
should.
part of it,
I think it's obviously wrong.
that freaks me out a little bit is that there are certain parts of Suzuki method teaching that are very different from normal violin teaching, and probably the one that like normally classically trained violinists make fun of, or maybe not make fun of, but think is awkward the most is the smiling thing, because there's this big belief in the Suzuki method that like students need like visual aspect is a big part of performance. So they're required to move a lot and they're required to smile the entire time that they're playing. So I had never somehow, despite being a part of the violin world like literally my entire life, I had never run across an actually fully Suzuki trained musician until I went to governor school. And then there was this one girl who had fully followed the Suzuki method, and she performed for us, and I don't know why I was the only one that was freaked out, because everybody else was like, oh, she's really good, and I was like, bro, are you seeing that smile on her face? Like, no offense, but I think I just saw the Joker. Like, what the fuck?
So
like she was just grinning eerily with her eyes wide open the whole performance, and I was like, bro, this piece is not a happy piece. What is happening?
I just want to say that I actually think my initial assumption was pretty spot on. This definitely sounds like a war crime.
I just, yeah, I don't know. I'm actually a big believer in the opposite effect. It's something I teach my students a lot. It's like music is about the listening and about the music. It's not about what you look like. So things like posture matter because they affect your sound, but things like moving are much more selective, because moving used in the right way can actually help like the flow of the music, like help you feel the music more. But there's a lot of people who definitely move excessively, and it takes away from the music because it starts ruining your technique. So I talk to my students a lot, and I'm like, you know, if you're waving your head around passionately, it doesn't really matter if it makes your sound like terrible.
Yeah.
like mostly people are just going to be, or it's supposed to be, mostly they're listening to you, and they should be touched by the music, not by your face like crying. Like that's what playing music is about. So I just have a very anti, I guess, Suzuki method.
So I quickly looked it up. The founder of, or the creator of the Suzuki books is Shinchi Suzuki. But the founder of
like with a J?
Shinchi.
Oh, Shinchi. Okay.
Suzuki, but the founder of the Suzuki Motor Company is Micho Suzuki. So they're
no relation.
No, they're just both Japanese. So
I will say Suzuki is a fairly common Japanese name.
I mean, I figured, but like it would be cool.
Yeah.
So in my head,
but I don't know if the same guy who creates like the weird technique that is the Suzuki method would also just create motorcycles.
Have you seen the Suzuki motorcycles though?
No,
I wouldn't be too sure.
Okay.
Suzuki's are really popular in India.
Yeah.
They used to be the biggest. I don't know if this was statistically true, but like when I lived there, like Maruti and Suzuki, it was the brand. I guess it was a collaboration, but it was by far the most common vehicle on the road in India.
Yeah.
Now I think Honda's caught up. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, this is just my public announcement for my own method called the PAN method.
Oh god.
It's on an individual basis, and you slap the kids if they get a note wrong.
I feel like
that-
you're stealing from.
Yeah, no,
The-
that's already existed for
Yeah.
a long time. Yeah. That's the Asian method.
Honestly,
No, my method is just like lecture them until they feel bad about themselves as a human being.
that's my dad's method.
I'm not the yeller. I just lecture them in a very disappointed fashion.
Oh no, that's different. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, your method has shown results. So
Yeah. I don't do that with most of my students, though. It just happened to be that one student. But most of my students, I think I'm just too nice to. So
this is facts. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't
I'm
believe
the
you
teacher who's
actually
like,
just,
good job, even if they do
told-
terribly.
You just I can't believe that you legitimately were just like, you're actually a moron that's going nowhere in life, and here's the evidence to back it up.
Those were not my words, but honestly, my words might have been worse. Like, they weren't insulting, but they were harsh. I'll
It's like,
say.
not only are you a failure, here's why you'll never get better.
That one student, I psychoanalyzed his whole life, and I was like, "Is this the way you want to live your life? Like, is this the future that you see for yourself?"
Bro
like,
broke it
damn.
down. He was like, "No, please."
So apparently Suzuki Motor Company is owned a little bit by Toyota, which I didn't know.
So I guess
you know.
in the end, Toyota was the biggest seller.
I think I think at the public trading, they only own like 5%, but
Okay.
it's not very much. Most of it is the most is the Master Trust Bank of Japan at 10.4%. But well, whatever. In other news,
Yeah, well, let's if that's it, no one has anything else to add. Let's get into the topic. Dash, take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't really have like a direction for this, but yeah, the topic as a quick refresher is just, what is your philosophy towards life? Like, what motivates you to get up in the morning and just go through the motions of life? And I can go first. For me, I've realized it's like, as I've grown older, that the main thing that I think of is like, I think life to me is all about the memories I make. And so it's just like, there's a lot of days that I don't remember or care about, but it's like, I think I grow as a person when I make memories that I remember. So it's like those experiences that turn into memories, those are the ones that change me or move me in some way. And it's like a lot of life is just, like working or learning or whatever I need to in order to get to the point where like I can make memories. So like the Vancouver trip was a good example of this, because like I was pretty sure, and I think I'm right here, in that like the months leading up to it, I didn't really do anything that sits as a memory, except maybe the rave because of how shit it was. But besides that, there really just wasn't much. But I was just like grinding money, grinding like school and stuff, and just trying to get ahead on everything, so that like when the time came, I would have like, I wouldn't be worried about those things, and I could like focus on having fun, making some memories, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I'd say like for me, what motivates me is memories.
Wow.
This isn't really a motivation thing, but that's interesting from the perspective of an artist. It's just like, I feel like most artists have like the opposite mentality, where we're just like trying to extract as much meaning from everything in our lives as much as possible. So it's less of like waiting for moments for making life meaningful, and just trying to make like, because obviously a lot of artists, like their work is their art, so it becomes a part of like every single time they're working on that, they sort of are adding meaning to it. But yeah, I think that's a fairly classical contrast, just the artist versus the normal job sort of perspective.
Dang, I just got relegated to normal job. I will say I tried to I tried to, like, I used to
Well,
have
I'm
that.
more saying that being an artist is not normal.
Yeah, fair enough. I tried to say, like, I tried to always, extract as much out of, like, all the moments as I could,
Yeah.
but I realized, A, it's unsustainable, and B, it just made me really sad, because I realized it's just not really that possible. Like, sometimes, you're stuck in class, and this was especially true in, like, associates and bachelor's level, where you're just in a class that isn't helpful, that you're not going to remember in the future, and that you don't need, but like you have to take in order to get the associate's degree or the bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
and it's like,
right.
what meaning am I extracting here? It's
Yeah,
like, the meaning is sometimes life just dicks you over, but it's like, I learned that in the first class, so what am I doing for the next 15?
That's about every class I've been taking over the past, like, 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know. It at a certain point, I realized it's unsustainable mentally for me to try and extract meaning from things that don't offer it.
Have meaning.
Yeah. And so I was just like, well, I think it's more the Harry method. You know how he goes NPC mode when he's alone, and then like when the time's right, he activates.
Any response, Harry?
Activate.
Activate.
I don't know what to say to that, honestly. Actually, I do know what to say to it. Fuck you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. Oh. So I guess thinking back on the motivation thing, and the perspective of that is just like, yes, the memories are there. Like if we take it down to like current stage, like, how things are currently, motivation to do things is really so we can have the success and create the whole stepping stones for the future, where we can just do memories and do whatever the fuck we want, like within the next 5 to 10 years. Because I mean, the goal is eventually living the nice life without having to stress on work and be a corporate slave for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Granted, it's like to achieve that will be interesting. Not interesting, but will take some time. And depending on how good the salaries are and how well we handle certain finances, and if the world doesn't just dig us over with everything that's going on, will depend if we're really able to do all that. But it's like thinking like in the moment with. Not in the moment, but like in current stage, if we're factoring everything in. But it's like if we stripped everything down, and like it was like what would just underlying motivate me for just on my own would probably be the expectations that everyone has. Essentially, it's more, I guess, it's the expectations that I've set on myself because of the image people have put for me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty normal, honestly.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't want to let people down, and I don't, this is not a good feeling when people are like, look at you a certain way, like, damn,
Yeah.
fucked up. Or I guess like the disappointment, and
Disappointment,
you
yeah.
don't
Like,
achieve
fulfill
what they think.
expectations.
Yeah, to fulfill the expectations, because just everyone, all the teachers and everything is always with our group is just like, oh, they're going to be successful, you guys are going to do big things. And especially in like in the middle college that Dash and I went to, our counselor and also like certain teachers would really push, like, oh, you're gonna do big things in the future, you're gonna be able to do this and that. Like, it's flattery, but at the same time it's a little pressure, because I'm like, I don't want to do big things. I don't. Yeah. I'm not. I like. They're like, you can possibly change the world in certain things. I'm like, no, I don't think I can.
I think it'd be interesting to do like an informal case study on like, how yearbooks have like the most likely to be successful.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think it'd be funny to see like where all those people are.
how they actually do.
Like the expectation of the people who are set to become the most successful, how successful they actually become.
Yeah.
With that expectation riding on them.
I think I finally like when I first got to know Harry, it's like, yeah, it's like me and Harry both got that a lot at middle college. Which is fair because we were just smarter than most of the people at that college.
Which is better.
But like, I think a lot of it stemmed down to I'd always had that expectation of myself. In a way, I still do, because I don't know. That's just like that's always how I had been like brought up, and like I'd never I'd never thought about like what if you were just really smart, but also just didn't care much. Like you just wanted to like do what needed to be done, but like there was no ambition to be like the best of the best at something. And so it's like I think I finally understood Harry when I realized that like me and him fundamentally want different things. Like I think for Harry, it's like as long as he's doing well, as long as he's comfortable, he doesn't want to like go above and beyond.
Right.
Because like to him, there's no.
You hear that, Harry? You slacker.
Yeah. I mean, I am slack. I'm absolutely slack.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of my issues just in general come from the fact that I set way higher expectations on myself. And then I fail to meet them because A, I'm lazy, and B, they are pretty insane expectations.
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize through all these like deeper podcasts we have, I feel like we're just like the Goldilocks story. Like I feel like one of us is one extreme, the other is the other extreme, and then someone is like in the middle every single time.
I've said it once, and I've
maybe
said
that's
it.
why our
I'll continue to say it.
so
Yeah, like we are all like we're similar, but at the same time we're all at one end of the spectrum.
Different.
It's like one person's to this extreme, another person's this, and one person's just in the middle, and it's just how we are.
It is just the Goldilocks zone.
It is like it is.
It's pretty crazy.
It's
actually.
pretty crazy, especially in a lot of the things we do. It's just how it is.
Right.
Yeah,
we function very differently as human beings.
Yeah, no.
In the right circumstances, we would be part of totally different friend groups and be like, ugh.
Yeah, no, that's like, what is this try hard? And that should look at
yeah.
What is
like,
this
that
slacker?
guy is like the fucking try hard of the
What
grade.
is this,
It's like, this dude is like,
fucking lazy ass.
I don't know. Like personally, though, I've literally made friends with every sort of person at any point. It's like my only like real requirements for being friends with someone is that they're like nice to talk to and not god awfully boring.
Yeah.
Which like the nice to talk to everybody here meets, but apparently the second requirement is a little bit harder to.
Wait, which one of us is boring?
No, not you guys. I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I was like,
wow, what a piece of shit.
I didn't know you hated our recordings this much. God dang.
Do you think I'd hop on the Discord every day for 4 years if I found either of you boring?
Yeah,
you meant here as in Vancouver. I see.
Yeah.
It's bro. The people here are just. Anyway,
to circle back a little bit. So, Adash, you first mentioned memories. Would you say that's like your primary motivation, or is that just like one of the things that motivates you? Because you mentioned that you're a mostly like self-motivated person, right?
Okay, I need to clarify on that. I set really high expectations on myself. But I absolutely crave external validation. Like you know how those people are like it doesn't matter what other people think of you. Fuck that. Focus on you. No, the only thing that matters to me is what other people think of me. I want to be remembered. So
this is true. We definitely have a few stories about this.
So but I don't like it. Because I think it slows me down. Not slows me down. It hinders me. Like I think in a lot of aspects. Like, I think relying on external validation is just not a sustainable way to live. Like it's not a healthy way to live.
So what would you say then that validation is your primary motivation?
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
He's trying to find his place in the world.
No,
I don't actually
I'm,
think
I-
that's
I'm trying to.
too-
I know where I want to be. It's just hard
you
to
said
get
cheap.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He's trying to
think
be the very
I don't think
best.
that's too different from what Harry said, actually, because Harry's whole thing was like the wanting to live up to other people's expectations thing.
I guess
right?
it's like
It's a little different.
Instead
but
of like
yeah.
having other people's expectations separate, he set his own, and then he wants to achieve it, but also wants other people to
Validate
recognize
it.
and
Yeah.
and say,
recognize
yeah,
his
no,
achievement.
he
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that, that he is close to that
I'm
goal
that
or
guy.
yeah,
Right.
he's the man.
Yeah.
He's that guy who like randomly charged at the Mona Lisa and then like, took a bite out of it for some reason.
Yeah, he like chomped
and
down.
now
it.
he's serving a life sentence.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the oils in that were toxic. So like,
The diagnosis showed he was perfectly psychologically okay, so we don't know why he did it.
yeah,
Wait, if the
Points to this
diagnosis,
podcast.
if the diagnosis shows that I'm perfectly psychologically okay, what the fuck is the diagnosis?
I don't know.
well, they're like, there's no
What
science
are
that
these
he would
criteria?
just
Yeah,
do this.
they just put a bunch of paintings in front of you. They're like, he's not eating them. What's going on?
Oh.
Then they
I'm
get
not
like an art
surprised-
expert to come in there and explain the value of each painting, and then I pick one.
Yeah. And it's like the money doesn't motivate you, and they're like, why? What is his reason? What is his motive?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about Harry's answer because that is kind of what your answer was for what podcast was it? It was the one where the NPC thing
14th.
started.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
It was the one before
the thought process one.
Yeah,
It was the
thought
one
process.
talking about like thought processing. Yeah. But your whole thing there was like you said that you like noticed that you just don't really thought process when you're by yourself, but you like function based on other people. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised your motivation is also there because I think
Yeah.
that
I mean,
that would make sense.
granted, the underlying motivating thing for anything, like currently in life, is probably pretty simple for most people, and it's just money, and like you kind of need that to live.
Yeah.
But,
in terms
yeah,
of,
but that's
like,
just
yeah,
that's just a
beyond
product of the
Yeah,
system. So it's
that.
like
Yeah.
But it's like the
Beyond
self
like societal
motivation.
pressures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What possibly motivates you internally is very different.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you like break it down, like everybody really is after the money, but if you break it down, it's just like why though? Like why personally
Yeah.
do you care?
Not everyone is after the money. Buddhist monks living in the monastery.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll never understand them because like I want money and I want women, but they want
Yeah.
neither. And
I
it's
mean-
like
And you want hair.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I want what?
Well, I think you want
red hair.
No, just
long,
like because they have to shave.
luscious hair.
Oh right, yeah. I forgot about that.
Harry, I think you misunderstood. What
Yeah,
I
no.
was saying.
I mean,
Not
he
hair
does.
on
He
other
does.
people.
Yeah, he does want long,
Bro,
luscious hair.
I like to believe like they join the monastery and there's like a list of rules they have to follow. One of them's like no getting other people's hair.
Yeah,
It's like, wait, what? Why is this a rule? And it's like, believe me, it's more common than you would think. When
There's
they're
a
not sexually
run-in.
repressed, they run around with scissors, trying to get snippets of other people's hair. But they're all bald. Yeah, I think for me, so I mentioned before that like I think we're all different extremes because I feel like my whole thing is that it was like Harry's motivation lies on the exterior, and then Adash's motivation lies on the interior, and then for me, I think my
It's the
in terms of
Yeah.
expectation. Thank you, Harry. In terms of expectation, there's like Harry has expectation from other people, Adash has expectation from himself. My thing was that I just didn't have expectations for myself. So yeah, I'm
Fair
like the
enough.
last extreme. And I think like I started out in a place where it was relatively similar to Harry, where it's like mostly filling out expectations for other people, and that was
Yeah.
like how I lived my life. And then that changed because the difference between me and Harry is I think the people around me were a lot more lenient. so like I had the expectations of other people, but I also had a wiggle room. So I think what happened to me is I started to sort of move around in that wiggle room, and then I started to expand that wiggle room. And
You
then
started
when
to
young me
limit
started,
test.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Young me started to test the limits of, how far I could wiggle and get away with like not having to actually work while still fulfilling the expectations of people around me. And yeah, that just continued, and then Star Guides happened because that limit reached a point where I was successfully getting away with a lot of shit, but it was like I was fooling myself into thinking I was getting a lot of away with a lot of shit, because like it was one of those situations where it's like you're just barely keeping up, but you think you're still doing fine because nobody said anything yet. But then it turns out you're not doing fine and you're actually behind the curve. Yeah, so that happened, and then Star Guides happened. So Star Guides in Oak Ridge were like a big pause button on my life, because when I hit Star Guides in Oak Ridge, it was like, at that point, it was no longer a question of like motivation based on expectation. It was like, do the thing or get hurt. So it very much became
survival.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like, you're actually reading my script for me. It's like literally it just became survival at that point. So like I stopped thinking, and it's like me, I'm the sort of person who does very well in those sorts of situations. But like I don't enjoy it though. It's like it puts me in a really bad mental state. But in terms of like being able to survive in a situation like that, my personality is like tailor-made for that. And that's why like both at Star Guides and Oak Ridge, I excelled at those places, and people were like, "Oh, look at that guy. Like he's so great. He's a leader. He listens. He's strong. He does things well." And it's like, meanwhile, but it's like that meme with like the mask and the dude crying behind it. That was basically me. during So it's like I started to gain like motivation from that, but it was like survival motivation. So that's what got me to, because before it has to be understood that basically everyone did shit for me too when it came to like organization and responsibilities. So like when it came to like signing up for camps and like just any sort of those things, it was like either my parents would do it for me or my friends would do it for me. It's like I was never the dude who like actually was proactive,
went out to to make your own decisions. But
exactly. So I just went with the flow. So it was like that thrust into the position where it was like either learn how to gain some sort of like self-control like for that sort of thing, or just continue being at Oak Ridge. I finally managed to the survival Procton instinct in me that allowed me to finally actually try out for governor's school and do all the paperwork and stuff, despite like suffering through the whole process, since that was basically new for me. And then it was like governor's school. Why I always say like governor's school was the worst part of that whole period is because like the pause button, it started playing again, and I realized that like the survival instincts were not going to carry me in a place where I didn't need to worry about survival anymore. So it's like at that point, like stuff just went back down the drain immediately, and I was like, I still have zero self-discipline. And Star Guides and Oak Ridge did literally nothing for that. So that went down the hill. And I won't go into depth about that because we're still not on the mental trauma episode. But eventually, I somehow managed to make it out alive, just barely. It was very close, but I did manage to get to survive. And then I went to ECU, and ECU was weird because like it wasn't as bad as Govy because like the people were like a lot more chill. So I think I felt a little bit more relaxed. And then I had like good relations with my teacher and stuff. So it wasn't as bad, but I was still obviously in a place where I had like zero self-discipline. And it's like the more independence you give me, the less discipline I have, just because I never had any in the first place. So obviously when you put me in a situation where I don't have to do anything, my first instinct is going to be not doing anything.
Thinking about it, Star Guys in both Oak Ridge, so military, you have someone constantly telling you what to do. In the Star Guys, you're basically having someone constantly tell you what to do. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you're not going to build discipline there because you're basically forced or being told what to do.
I'm a
or
good
else you get
soldier.
Punished. So I'm
a good soldier. I follow orders.
You just become
very well.
Basically.
I not only follow orders, I like exceed orders. Like I'm great at following orders. But when it comes to setting my own commands, that's when shit falls apart immediately.
Because I was like thinking about that is like the whole like Asian household kind of style thing where you know actually the way you were talking about it kind of just made me think about it because it's their parents always they set high expectations because you know as first generations they come over they work really hard and do whatever so they want to push all these extracurricular and extra stuff onto their kid to be like, hey, they're going to be successful, they're going to be great, this is for them. whether they want it or not, and they're gonna hopefully the whole thing when I was younger is in the future you're gonna appreciate this and you're gonna see how much it's worth, and that was the biggest thing.
The
And
line.
the classic thing of I think we mentioned this before. It's like
To be fair,
you gotta do this for yourself. It's not for us. You gotta fulfill this for yourself. But when you're constantly being forced, to be pushed on you, how can you really do it yourself if it's never your choice from the beginning?
Yeah,
right.
I did actually have a conversation with my mom like a couple of days ago, and I was talking to my brother, and I was like, I was telling him, I was explaining why like he should put a little bit of effort into the things mom makes him do, just because like like it's nice. I told him it's like because like right now he's in like 6th grade math. He's in 4th grade, and he's there's a whole story to that. Basically, like he's doing like the iReady thing. Like it's one of those stupid shitty programs they use in school these days.
Prep stuff.
Yeah. Like that's basically his homework, but he's really far ahead, right? But that's not how they grade it. Like the teacher grades the homework based on how much you got done per week. But my brother doesn't get as much done as the other kids because he's 2 fucking math levels higher. But she doesn't understand that. And I was like, let me at her, Mom. Let me talk to this dumb bitch.
She's below her pay.
Honestly, like I was like, I don't know. My mom said like I think in general she just doesn't like him for whatever reason.
She's racist.
No, I don't know. Maybe, but. Yeah. Anyway, I was telling my brother it's like you gotta find like things to do outside of school because like if you don't you're just gonna become like the other kids that struggle to learn. I was like, there's no way you don't enjoy the fact that you learn everything faster than all your friends. And I'm like, if you want to keep that, you have to train it.
That's what you're trying to say is you don't enjoy the fact that you're just better.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Relish in your superiority, young one.
I guess, but I was like, if you want to maintain that, it's like you have to train it. And so I was telling him, it's like just like you got to try. And my mom was like, so aren't you really glad I made you do those things? I'm like, yeah, Mom.
But it's like,
thank you.
No, it doesn't really. There's a way I feel like you should be able to naturally
there's a
improve
balance.
that. Yeah, there's a better way to put it because like
we talked about this in the
granted all the stuff they've done for us, it did make us greater and better, but at the same time it also left a lot out.
A lot of Asian kids had their lives fucked because of the psychological effects of their childhoods.
I would say mainly like first generations and then the second and third generation.
Yeah. So I think
you know what it is. Asian parenting is very Darwinistic. Like it's like you either make it out alive and you're super successful, and your Asian parents like, see, you're a doctor now with like 5 degrees and you have 4 wives, and it's like so it's like either you're that or you're one of the ones that get left by the wayside.
Yeah. You become
my mom, I think, I don't know, like maybe I'm just not giving her enough credit. I feel like in the early days she wasn't the best at this, but I think eventually she did get a lot better at like understanding. The one thing I think all like first generation parents struggle with, which is that like they work, they never switch off survival mode, even when they make like I don't know. I feel like
no, you're right, absolutely.
Yeah. Like they even when they make it, even when they're making however much
they're still in constant survival.
And so like the one thing they don't understand is like, like they work hard so their kids have better lives, and then like they low-key get mad because their kids don't have to work as hard as they do,
having a life as
even though that was the whole fucking point.
It's like you gotta work just as really hard.
That and I think like part of them is also, at least on my side of things, part of them is also like concerned that if you don't have the same mindset towards life, you're gonna squander everything.
Yeah, you'll fail.
With.
Yeah.
But
I think the main thing is it's like I forget what the exact quote is, but it's like everyone asks what do you want to do when you grow up or how much money do you plan to make, but no one asks if you are happy. Like no one asks if you want to be happy, and it's like that's kind of the ultimate thing is like I feel like parents forget it's like at the end of the day what matters ultimately is if you are fulfilled and happy with what you do.
Yeah.
Because again, they just never turned off survival mode. You can't work on happiness when you're on survival mode.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so to circle back a little bit, and also this is related. I think this is where I get to flex my parents a little bit,
oh boy.
Because so what happened after this, and really what I think like the moment my life changed, and why like I'm super appreciative of everything now, is because like there was a very particular instant. So it happened. I was kind of okay at ECU. It wasn't as bad as Govy school, and I wasn't spiraling as hard, but I was still spiraling. It was definitely there. It was just not as intense as it was at Govy school. But so I was spiraling slowly, but still managing. And then Corona happened. And if you know anything about me, if you put me in a situation where, it's purely reliant on self-discipline, like that's just asking for failure from me like that. So that happened. And it was like, all the schooling from home and stuff. And yeah, it just did not work even remotely for me. Like I just couldn't muster even the slightest bit of motivation to just do anything. And it was extremely bad. So eventually this led to events. Once again, I'm not going to go into it. They'll save it for the trauma episode, but it got pretty bad. And then I remember at a certain point, the changing point of my entire life was, there was this one day that I made the decision that like this was not working, and that like I kept falling down the exact same whirlpool, and that something needed to change. And that something. What was
your age at this time? What year?
Not old enough. Oh no, old enough.
Old enough.
I think around 1920, probably.
Okay, so I can picture it in the bikini in my mind. Go on.
So yeah, for those who don't know, I exclusively wore bikinis at that point. I'm just kidding. But
they called him the bikini boy.
I remember I decided like I didn't know what I needed to change, but I knew that continuing to push forward into the abyss was not working. So I was like, all right, the first thing I'm going to do is take a break, and then I'm going to figure out where to go from there. But the thing is, like, the whole reason why I had kept continuing along this flow was because, like, even though I had no self-discipline or motivation to do anything, and no expectations for myself, I like lived completely on the expectations of other people. And it's like, of course, the expectations of like my parents, and then also just like trying to keep up with everyone else. Like I remember it was a really big sore spot for me that I had to graduate in 2019, because like according to my original years I was supposed to graduate in 2018, but because of star guides and stuff I ended up graduating a year later. But I remember that like hurt me for a long time, because like I just felt like I was so far behind all the people that like I knew that were like in my grade and all my older friends and stuff. And I was like, man, like I feel like such a failure because of that. And it's like, so it's like, I never had the self expectations to motivate myself. But I still was very emotionally affected by the expectations of other people, even if they didn't really motivate me to do things. It still like hurt me. So I remember like when I made that decision, it was extremely difficult for me, because I kind of knew like this is where all the worst comes. Like this is where everyone's like, oh, you're a failure, oh, you're a dropout, you're the worst. And I was like, oh no. Like I was like just waiting for this. And then like what ended up happening is that day, both my dad and my mom and my sister were like super fucking supportive about it, and they were all like, I think this is a good idea and you should have done this a long time ago. And I was like, what? I
didn't know this was an option.
I was like, this wasn't an option before. I didn't think it was, at least. And so I just remember like we started talking after that, and it's like I started to learn that like a lot of my sort of expectations that other people had of me were self-imposed, because it was more of just like me wanting to portray a certain image to other people. But it's like they didn't actually care about that part. They cared more about just my mental health and stuff, and I didn't realize that. I thought they just wanted me to be successful and didn't care about my mental health. So that's kind of how I lived my life. I just kind of forced myself forwards regardless of the destruction that was happening to my mental health. So from there it was like that was like a huge turning point in my life, because I was like, from there my sister gave me a lot of tips that like really helped a lot, and I still live by most of those things. and it's like at that point I just
shout out
started
our
to
only good consistent.
yeah. I just started to slow things down a lot and also just lower my expectations a lot, like a crazy amount, to the point where it was like no longer reaching for the clouds. I'm reaching for like the next step up on the staircase, like just like very, very low expectations. And it's like anytime I fulfilled anything, no matter like how small of a thing it was, my family would all like celebrate. And it like, it looks really stupid from an outside perspective because I would do something that most human beings do all the time, and they'd be like, yeah. But it was actually really good for me because it was like it just kept me in a really like positive outlook. So it's like it took a long time, and I think I always knew that was going to be the case after I started to come around to this. But I started to realize like my journey is going to be slow. I'm just someone who just I have a bad starting point because of the fact that I have zero expectations for myself, but I think like the feeling of being on the hill of progress, even if I'm at the very bottom of it, is still like such a comforting feeling after having been like essentially just like forcing myself up it in a way that wasn't really progressing me. But just staring at other people watching the mountain and crying about it. It's like now I feel like I'm actually on it with other people, and it's like not as miserable as I originally thought it was going to be. So basically, moral of the story is I'm in a pretty good place right now.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I think like what was great about it was like after I started to lower my expectations for myself, and also form expectations for myself, like I also started to just like open my eyes to a lot of other things that were going on, and I was like, wow, it's like I was just like completely blind to so many things that now I'm just like, wow, like this is like this is a sudden revelation I'm having.
But why did you suddenly go back to your sauce folder?
No, not that. That's still part of the hill of progression in my eyes.
Yeah.
No, but things like conflict resolution, especially, because like conflict resolution has this needs to be like a topic one day of one of our podcasts. But it's always been a big problem in our family. Harry probably knows because you were there for some of those.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
of those.
That's not why I thought you brought Harry into it, but
No,
Some of those.
I wasn't the reason for conflict.
No. He was just a witness to it.
Yep.
Yeah, but he witnessed several of our altercations. But it's like that communication
that
has
had
always
to
been
be
one
so
of the.
weird.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
no.
imagining.
I don't think it was too bad.
Here, just
'Cause
like
Harry
playing
was, like,
Minecraft,
basically
and
a
in the
member of our
meantime,
family
like
back
Greg's
then.
like, "I hate you, Mom." I wish I'd never been
It wasn't
born.
really like that, but it was like I would always
No.
put my input in my thought into things.
You know what it was, Harry? It was always like the car conversations. It would
Yeah,
always be in a
bro.
car. We would always be in the back
Oh.
seats, and there would always be
That's the
yelling
worst,
across the
yeah.
seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Harry would always just be sitting there, just like, damn.
It's like I
I
want to
sure
say
wish I
things,
had a
but
Nintendo
is it really
Switch
my
right
place? Yeah.
I think my mom would like sometimes bring him into the conversation
Yeah.
too, and Harry would always be like, "No,
that's
please,
fucked up.
leave me out of it, please."
And I'll be like, yeah, sure, yep, whatever you say.
But anyway, I just, so it's like communication has always been a huge issue in our family, but I think like we've gotten so much better at it. Like I don't think anyone has witnessed like any of our conflicts in the last like few years, but if you compared what our conflicts are like now compared to what they were like 5 years ago, like 5 years ago, it was basically a world war. Like it was insane. Like Harry only witnessed like the surface level of how bad it got. It got so much worse. It was bad. But like nowadays it's like it's actually impressive. Like to the point that I always like compliment us as a whole when we're done. I'm always like, I feel like most families can't do this. Like the sort of conflict resolution.
Mine
that
is
we're
still a
able to
war
achieve.
zone. Literally any
yeah.
argument, it's like somebody ends up crying.
Yeah.
Usually my
I mean,
mother, but
that still happens, but that's just because we're all sensitive. But like these days, it's like we always end conflicts like best friends now. Like we always end and we're like, all right, let's go get ice cream, and we're like laughing and stuff. And it's like I'm just like proud of the fact, and I think I was holding it back a lot. But I think like being able to feel a little bit better about myself has helped a lot in understanding just how terrible I used to be at conflict resolution and how easy the solution was. Honestly, it was kind of funny, but I'll save that for a future episode.
First off, I'd like to say I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy for you. We pop off at healthy conflict resolution in families. But also, this doesn't technically answer the question, so...
I mean, it was like motivate, like what motivates you,
Yeah,
right?
it's short the foundation of what created his current now motivation.
So what is that? Would you say?
Just I think it's just progress. Like
progress. Okay.
Yeah.
If I can, like, every couple months just look back and then be like, I'm better than I was a few months ago, then I feel like I'm in the right direction, basically.
That's actually pretty good.
And it keeps me in a good state of mind.
Yeah.
I think a good thing or something like that's interesting that's pertaining to this is like, this prompt, I was sort of looking at it, and then it sent me back into this sort of introspection zone, which is why I had this whole thing to talk about.
You're welcome.
I wrote most of this down. And the thing is, like, I used to be a super introspective person. Like, I went down these sort of thought holes, like, constantly,
Same.
every single day. And it's like, I realized, like, I don't need to do that anymore, actually.
Same.
And it was a really nice feeling to realize that. I was like, hey, like, I haven't done this in, like, a year. And it's like, I haven't needed to do this in a year because I don't need to, like, send myself into a rabbit hole of depression about who I am. It's like, now I can just be like, yeah, I used to suck and I suck slightly less now. Like, this is great.
I mean, you know, another way to mitigate those thoughts is just become an NPC.
Harry has the sauce. I used to always, like, after, like, every social interaction, every academic achievement, I'd always, like, every failure especially, I'd always reflect and I'd be like, you know, what do I need to change? What am I not doing well enough? All this. And then eventually I realized, well, actually, what I needed to change was just not doing that. Like, I just needed to stop. Like, you can't. I think it kind of goes back to what we discussed in the beginning. It's like, I was just trying to extract too much value where there really wasn't much value. It's like, it's like, you know, when you fail, it's like inherently there's a surface level to why you failed. And then I would always try to go deeper and try to find out, like, what else, like, affected that. And it's like, most of the time, surface level is good enough. every so often, it's important to be introspective, but, like, once or twice a year is enough. Every single day, it's literally just, you're just wasting mental energy.
We can summarize this entire episode by, it's not that deep, bro. No, but I actually really, really agree with that. Like, I used to think so much about everything just constantly. And I was just, like, so convinced that my analysis of the world and myself was, like, 100% accurate. And it's like, obviously I was wrong about a lot of things, but I'm not saying, like, I was exactly wrong about everything, but it was like, that information was so useless to me. Like, what if you know how fucked up of a person you are? That doesn't help you change that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, all it does is make you feel worse about yourself when you're like, the core reason of this is this. I'm not a lazy person. I'm just a
depressed?
bad person.
Oh my God.
It's just like,
I'd also like to say, Greg, like, your dropping out is actually what, like, and, like, you explained, like, how, like, you were surprised that, like, it went as well as it did and stuff. It's actually one of the things that, like, gave me the courage to do it myself. So thanks. Yeah. Because I really needed that break.
I mean, I remember at the time when I revealed that to you guys, I was nervous because I was so afraid I was going to be judged for that. And it was like, because that was me at the time. I know now, but, like, my mental state at the time was I was so afraid of being judged by, like, everyone. And I was just, like, not in a good place. But now I can say with confidence that was the right decision to make.
I mean, it's understandable.
If I forced myself,
if you always thought, you know,
everyone
thought of you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame you, though, because, like, my first thought when you said it was, what? That's an option? Like, I didn't necessarily think, like, it was the wrong
We're allowed
move.
to do that?
I didn't, like, my brain inherently tells me that's not okay. It was like, that's not allowed, right? Because, like, I'd never known different. But then, like, I thought about it, and I was like, this is actually, like, definitely the best thing Greg could have done for himself.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes sense to, like, because if you're not going anywhere, and, like, actually, even if you're making progress, if you're making progress up the wrong hill, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
So I was like, it's actually pretty smart. I just supported you just because you said like you needed it for like your mental reasons. So I was like, I mean, you can't make progress if you're dead. So
yeah. It's even stupider because it's not even that like I could have kept making progress and it would have just been bad for my mental health. It was like the extent of my self-destruction every time was so bad that it wasn't progress. It was like reverse progress. Like it was literally bad for my future to continue like forcing myself into those situations. Yet I was still doing it. Like in hindsight, it's really dumb, but it was just like I was in the same place where I just felt like that wasn't an option because it's like, oh, only failures like don't finish.
Well, when I told my dad, I was ready for a 3-hour argument. I'm not legitimately. I was geared up for war, and he was like, "Okay, what do you plan to do next?" I was like, out of every scenario I planned for, this wasn't one. I was like, what? That legitimately, that stun locked me. I was like, huh?
Right. Yeah. No, same. Yeah. So, that's how things are going. And that's how things used to be going.
I would like to interject one more thing. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I think the only thing that I think is self-motivated is certain projects. Back when I was, thinking about making computers and then also the project car and working on certain car stuff, it's the satisfaction of looking back at your completed work and like, damn, I did that, I mean, it's extremely satisfying looking at it, especially when it turns out really nice.
I say what you will, but I'll always think of Harry as an artist. He absolutely has that artist like mentality of just like,
I feel like you guys have converted me because like recently I've just been thinking about like I also need more side projects to do. Because like I always look at you guys doing these things and it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you're not really doing or learning anything that's like going to like progress, like catapult you in the hill of progression.
All the time me and Harry spent making skits. Yeah, none of that is going to help anything.
No.
But it's just
it was like looking back at a skit and actually
yeah.
looking back and seeing like, hey, this is actually funny and somewhat coherent.
We had our moments. I
was like, there was a satisfaction in finishing. Like, hey, the finished product isn't actually dog
just
shit.
having a finished product.
And also,
even
like,
if the finished product
when we made
is
the
dog
song,
shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
I'm looking at my
stupid,
Gettysburg
so
address
funny.
rap in 7th grade. The Gettysburg address
Oh
rap.
yes, you told us about
I think that
this.
was 8th grade. But
I remember when you showed me that.
I don't think there's any part of that project that I like from a current standpoint, but I'm still glad we did it because man, was it fun at the time.
Yeah.
Taking a step back from like the life philosophy things, just in terms of projects, I think we're all getting a little bit better. I think the podcast has helped a lot in terms of like just becoming better at finishing things. But for me personally, like getting more into music production really helped because like music production at least at first was a lot more sustainable for me because I was actually able to finish pieces in like 1 or 2 days. So before I lost my initial burst of motivation, I was able to finish the project. So doing that enough times finally made it so I started to have a little bit more patience in the future because I was like, all right, just calm down. You've done this before. It can turn out good even if it sucks right now.
I think my issue is I always like the projects I start just inherently have a longer development time. Like one of the things I really do want to get done is a game, but it's like that's not a light thing to start because there's so many avenues to that. There's like you got to learn audio, you got to learn like game editing, you got to learn. I had like even before I got to the programming, I had to learn like the basics of art and design, and I was like, I don't want to do these things, but
it's a lot.
I gotta learn.
No, I actually, to circle back to money, actually, honestly, I think money is a little underrated in the process because everyone's always like, oh, you don't need this camera and this to start your process of creativity. Like, but you can just do it. And it's like, I think that's a little bullshit.
You may not need it, but it helps a whole lot.
It helps so much because what really kickstarted my music production ability was buying those VSTs of the orchestras. Because before that, I wanted to make orchestra music, but it sounds so shit like with the MIDI orchestras and stuff. So like I never felt inspired to make anything because I knew the end result was going to sound shit, and I'm someone who's a perfectionist. So, but it's like realizing that such a thing exists, like MIDI software that actually sounds pretty good. Like it's obviously not comparable to a real orchestra, but you can still fool some normies into thinking it's a real orchestra, and that's enough. And it's like realizing that was a thing, and then also realizing how expensive it was, but then having enough money to actually buy it, man, like that was game changing. Like buying FL Studio, buying all the packs I needed to actually make music, and then making music with those packs and being like, holy shit.
All right, Greg,
dope.
you've convinced me. I'm buying a second monitor right now.
But I do think money is underrated in the process of like motivation and like artistic
I guess
expression.
it's the satisfaction of spending your hard earned or like, just your cash. It's like you're seeing, whether you worked for it or not. Well, I guess no. I think it's worth more when you worked hard for it and you're like, hey, I can now basically do what I want with this shit. And
I'm just trying to justify the $60 purchase of the fake accordion.
Oh my god.
That's what this whole podcast is for. I'm just trying to make myself feel like it was useful enough.
It's I actually am going to. You actually have convinced me to buy a second one. I'm doing it.
I'll just look up Facebook Marketplace or something.
It is funny though, because I am someone who spends money a lot, and it's like spending money on like things that I don't actually end up using. I definitely had a part of my life where I did that a lot. I think when I first started, I think most teenagers do that if they have like a restaurant job. But yeah, when I first went to Red Bull, man, I just spent every paycheck immediately. Just like, not immediately, I wasn't one of those people, but I did spend money a decent amount, and I was not collecting a lot of savings.
It's like, hey, we need the triple digits. We gotta bring that back down.
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I saved all of the money when I started first like tutoring. And then I'm glad I did, because I ended up burning through all of it after I stopped tutoring. Just like on
I wish I was like that.
Experiences. No, but like now it's like, now that I have a steady paycheck that I know isn't probably going to go away, I'm slowly realizing I actually can't help it. Well, first of all, it's like some things I ended up needing to spend money on, like in November and stuff. Like I bought a lot of kitchen equipment, and it's not like I'm a fucking addicted to kitchen equipment, but I kind of need a pot and pan.
Yeah.
Right. And having like higher quality kitchen equipment is a game changer.
Yeah.
For the cooking experience.
I honestly, cooking is probably the closest thing that I have to a project, because every like month I try to make something I've never made before.
I mean, cooking is a good project to have.
Yeah,
it's like
I have so many photos now. Actually, I have like a whole like collage.
Yeah. But just going from like that point of just like spending money on stupid shit that I'm never gonna use again and definitely wasted my money on. But like once I got to like actually spending money on stuff that I do use, like my computer and then all the external things I've added to my computer, and then like I even remember like getting this mic was a big debate for me, because I was like, do I really need to spend that much money on a mic, especially because I'm not a vocalist? And I was like, nah, I don't think I need to, but I still ended up buying it. But I don't really regret it, because like for both music production, and I also teach online, and then now we have the podcast, and it's just I've used this mic so much, so honestly I don't think it was a,
and also those Overwatch callouts sound so crisp.
Genji one he's one, get him one.
Focus on
Ryan can die
yeah ulting going.
Ryan's purple
touch.
Anyone who doesn't understand this is just like, what the hell?
Yeah, no.
That's true. If you haven't played Overwatch, that's hilariously just so
touch.
Yeah, touch is hilarious.
yeah. Gotta touch.
Also, focus Anna, the way Harry was saying it sounded like focus Anna. So,
I think.
Yeah.
I was like, one more point I wanted to touch on was when Greg was mentioning
touch.
Touch.
It was, I guess the
any touchers?
I think it was the external expectations set it in, that you don't want to fail them. I think when I was younger, back when my older sister started going down her loop of essentially becoming, in my eyes, a failure.
Jesus. I mean, you're right.
Called out. God damn.
If she ever watches this, if they ever watch this, Yeah, no, you became a failure in my.
God damn.
It's harsh, but like essentially
Yeah.
leaving behind your family and saying "fuck you guys," and just you had every opportunity and like just about everything but a loving family to make you successful.
Okay, but that's a pretty big thing. Like,
Yeah,
let's not go over
So
that.
you had loving siblings, but not a loving parent. But apparently you hated your parents.
Also, just want to quickly remark another amazing album name by Harry. Everything but a loving family.
Actually, that's pretty good.
True, actually. Yeah. That's fire.
But it was like, you know, back then my I think the biggest motivation then was I don't want to be like that. I can't, you know. Well, also it was like I don't think I have the opportunity. If I screw up like that, it's just done for. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Because it's like even though they want to be on their own, they're still essentially just mooching money off of my dad, and you know
Me right now.
and I mean, it's like at least they had a chance to actually finish the degree and do everything, but instead you fucked off and did whatever they wanted, and didn't really get a stable job. Had all the thoughts of trying to get some sort of job opportunity, but never actually held one. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. I want to actually. I think the biggest thing is you want to become someone dependable and not just let down. And then once I started working constantly, and I just realized, hey, your place in society, I guess, is also the thought I wanted to touch on was like the main thing I think that killed a lot of things for me was me coming up with the idea of thinking here, and everyone's always like, you can make a difference in the world and everything. I'm just thinking about it like, no, I can't. I really can't. Because
I want to point out, I think you could, but
I probably could have, but at a certain
with
point,
this podcast, we're gonna change the world.
But I was thinking about so the way everything is ran, one person can only make so much a difference, and the real thing that you would need is a shit ton of money. Money. And I mean, with the money you would have influence, and then you can change things. But like I thought about it, I was like, I don't want to be like that, and I don't care.
Yeah. So it's not that you can't change the world; it's that you just don't want to.
Yeah. Well, now I probably couldn't because I'm like, I think at this point, if I don't know, I don't think. Well, the lottery's not enough. The lottery is definitely not enough.
You might not be able to change the world, but you could change maybe like a neighborhood.
Yeah, but then it's like there's so many fuckers out there, and I'm just like, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, the motivation for myself is just to do enough,
and you just don't want to. But
I could, but I don't think there's enough. There is probably more than enough like good people.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is why I said if Harry was ruling a country, he'd quit after like day 2 or 3.
Well, so I think being a ruler would be something different though, because it's like you have everyone else's lives in your hand versus now we have a lot of rulers and leaders that are supposed to take care of us, but they don't because of their own selfish greed. So it's like I don't want to. What does it say? Like, I mean, if I had
one of those guys,
if I had complete control, I would change it. I would try to do my best to make things better. But the thing is, there's so many people who are selfish and want things for themselves.
Harry would be in office and they'd be like, holy shit, deja vu. I don't want to be like the guy before me. I want to be dependable. Deja vu. I have to be responsible for everyone.
Yeah, and I think it's like I don't want that, like in my lowly life. It's like I don't want that pressure.
I don't say your lowly life.
I mean, compared to like people who are striving to like better the world, it's like I just want to live for myself. Even to that extent, I still don't do that. But it's like what was the whole point in this, huh?
I don't know.
You wanted to touch. You touched. You
did touch.
Yeah. Touching.
You stalled the overtime.
And I guess it's also like one of those that differ in like how Greg and I obviously have different mentalities on this, but it's also like his family encouraged and pushed for. I mean, anything he did was how to say recognized, and then also I guess supportive, very supportive. Versus my dad, no matter what I did, every single time we talked,
it's not enough.
It's not enough. No, no matter what I did, it's not enough. And there's no, like, the recognition was so small until like maybe recently he started recognizing, he recognized my automotive skills and abilities. But back then it was like, you got to finish school. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to focus on school. You got to make sure you finish your degree versus, back then, granted, when I had my associates, I was trying to find an avenue of how I could make good money without getting my degree because I didn't want to get my degree.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion that I need my degree if I want to live a easier life.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, you were
a
always
quicker
like
path
making
to an
plans,
easier life.
though.
Yeah,
like, you were always setting your sights
but it was like
something.
even though worked hard, made the money to take care of certain things at home when he wasn't really there to do anything of any of those. It's like not really recognized, not really shown.
Yeah.
It was always, you still gotta make sure you do this, do that, even though it's like I'm always doing it. And there, a couple of times I tried to tell him, he would just get pissed at me and essentially like tell me off. And I'm like, all right, fuck this dude. And then now it's like certain small things will actually get recognized, and it's like I feel like maybe a couple years ago I would have felt so good. But now it's like I look at him and I'm just like, I just nod my head. It's like, what do you expect? This is what I am. Why are you rewarding this? This is just a normal for me. You can't reward this anymore to me. There's no satisfaction for me.
Yeah, it's too late.
I think that's also the whole thing of being recognized and stuff. Is this is so off topic, but it's like I don't feel as much satisfaction anymore when people recognize my achievements and like the motivation of seeing other people's seeing my like encourage me and stuff isn't really there anymore. Like for some, like Adash is the external validation. That's a big motivator for him. For me, I only care about maybe a certain few people, like them saying good job. But even then, when they say it, I'm like, it was what's expected of me essentially, and it's the norm. Like it shouldn't be like anything exceptional.
So are you saying we should stop popping off when you get top of the leaderboard? And
no. Don't always pop off. In the video games, we're top fragging. We always pop off. But like it's like outside world achievements, it's like I just do them because it's like it's not really like other people. I expect other people to recognize it because the people I think I wanted to recognize it didn't back then, and now it doesn't matter to me enough.
I think for this, I'm the in-between guy because like I think validation plays a pretty big part in like my mental state, but it doesn't really do anything to my motivation. Like whether people approve or not doesn't change the fact if I want to do something or not.
Yeah,
like, that is always dependent on myself.
No, actually, like, you just said it better than I worded it, but that's actually how I feel too.
Yeah.
I crave external validation, but it doesn't motivate me.
Yeah, it does affect my emotions a lot. And I will say, like, being in a good emotional state does definitely help for gaining self-motivation. But I wouldn't say it's directly responsible for me getting motivation. Because, like, when people try to get me to do things, it never really works. It's usually when I determine that I want to do something that I get it done. So,
yeah. That's the biggest thing. It's like, I'm going to do it, but, your words of you trying to push things on me to do it, and it just makes me want to do it less.
Right,
bro. Especially when I'm already in school, and I told him like 10 times when I'm going to graduate, and every time he's like, "You gotta hurry up and graduate within the next 2-3 years." Like, I already told you my deadline. Like literally, it's not as bad anymore. But it's like almost every other conversation, no matter what we're talking about, always devolves to focus on school. Make sure you do well. How what your grades are, and the work. Like I think the biggest thing that pissed me off was the work I was doing, because the whole thing with me doing my co-op was I get that world experience. Granted, I'm taking a semester off, and I'm making money with it. That essentially actually pays for my school fully, because I don't get as much financial aid anymore since they started factoring in all the money I used to make, which kind of sucks. But besides that point, it's like. The experience for me to once I get out of school to have that good job, because it's what we want, and he's just like all this little money here and there doesn't mean anything. I was like, no, I think the experience is very meaningful.
That's pretty fucked up
in this day and age,
and also very wrong.
Yeah, no, it's very important to have especially graduating a fresh graduate. If you have, I'll have like almost 4 years of work experience.
Yeah,
half
that's like
of
one of
it's
the
in
most
my
important
field.
things.
It's
say.
like I think that is extremely important, and I think
that's how my dad, like before he retired, he was still getting jobs over like everyone else, despite being like 60, because of his immense work experience. Like I'm sure that a lot of the younger people were better with computers, faster, but like he still got chosen over everyone just because 40 years of work experience. They're always going to take that over somebody who has zero. So I think experience goes a long way for sure.
you know, it's just shows a little dynamic in our family household.
Right.
How things go.
It's like how your motivation is shaped. So I think it is relevant because it's like because of that, that's why your motivation works the way it does now. And that's why like my motivation works the way it does is because I was lucky enough to have like super supportive family members for that sort of thing. So it's like I understand that like me being able to like go slowly is a luxury because a lot of people don't get to go slowly. Like if you go slowly, you just get you can't survive. Like a lot of people like have to you know find a job and get out there immediately or else they'll starve.
Yeah.
So
it
I
sucks,
know it's
but
like
it's one of those things.
But
it's one of those things. Yeah.
Being conscious of the fact that it's a privilege isn't going to stop me from abusing the shit out of the
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you don't take it for granted, but you take advantage of it because you can. Right. And the people before you have set that up for you, so you might as well use it.
Right.
And if you don't, it's like it's a kind of like a waste of their effort in a way.
Yeah,
and I mean that's the thing. It's like
really nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Because it's like, I mean, if any of us have kids, we don't want our kids to live hard lives. We want them to be good people and understanding.
I'm sending my kid to Star Guys in 8th grade, and he's gonna stay there until high school.
But it's like if you give them, we know if we just baby and give them all the things they want, they become shit people. So it's like that's my nightmare. My kid turning into one of those kids, like those kids, like the ones I've seen that are like the worst. And man, I don't know how I'd feel about myself if my kid was like
entitled.
That. Oh, God.
Yeah, entitled.
I don't know how their parents. I mean, I guess it's because their parents are like that, but I don't know how a parent sees their kid act like that and is like, yeah, that's okay. It's like
checks out.
Just could never. I could never.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you did not just do that. You did not just disrespect that dude.
Anytime my brother has been like said some things, it's like it is really it annoys me though because it's like I understand I'm being a bit of a hypocrite because like he calls people dumb and I'm like, don't say that. But it's like I do it. But it's like
he's like I learned it from you though.
Yeah, my mom said that once, and I actually completely changed like by how I acted around my brother after that because I was like, shit, she's right. But I think it's really important that when he's in the formative stages, you don't grow up with that mentality.
No, I didn't touch on this, but that's actually really like a key is actually becoming a teacher. I think helped a lot too because I became a teacher right after I left ECU, and like I learned a lot from the experience of lecturing other people on things that I couldn't do, and I was like, God damn, like I'm saying these things are supposed to be easy, and they're 8. I'm 20 and I can't do these things. All right, guess I got to start trying to do those things.
The one thing I never lecture people on is time management because I'm like, I can never do it, so I have no right.
See, I lecture people on time management, but I have low expectations. I'm like, you don't have to practice a lot, but you have to make sure when you do practice that you practice well. So don't practice 30 minutes or an hour. Practice 5 minutes, but when you're practicing those 5 minutes, actually practice. Don't just run through the thing 10 times and call it a day. Because you'll actually progress so much more just
because I'd only practice like the hour before piano class every day.
Right.
But I'd actually get really good practice in because I'd go to class and then I'd play the piece that I practiced a few times right before class. And she'd be like, wow, I practiced. I can tell you've been really practicing. And I'm like,
it's like, yeah, you know me.
Yeah, I even practiced right before class just to be sure.
Yeah. I just, had to make sure I was goated with the sticks.
Yeah. Right. I wonder if my piano teacher ever caught on to the fact that like I was way better than I let on because like my mom basically started me back at the beginning because it'd been like years since I did piano. But she did tell her it's like, yeah, I did do piano before, but it's like I remember like after my second class I was like, oh yeah, I still remember most of this. I was like, because like we were doing like the equivalent of the Suzuki book, right? Like the piano version, and I was fucking breeze, like literally first trying all the songs. And then I realized, hold up, let me not cook too hard. Let me not make this too long.
Oh man, Young Adash was a little
Young Adash. This was 10th grade Adash.
Troll, bro. A troll.
Yeah. No, see, I never could do that because like my mom has connections in the violin world, so all of my teachers were like really like experienced and high level players. So they all knew I was faking it. They all could tell that I was trying to use my talent to get by and that it wasn't really working.
They're like, Greg, you're full of shit.
But I wonder at what
so many of
point
my
she
lessons.
figured out that like because her ending speech when like after the rehearsal, like she gave me a present and like the last thing she said to me was like, I know you didn't really, want to do this, but like you always listened to me. You were always nice. You were always attentive during the class, and I appreciate you for that. And like, I at some point she also mentions like, I know you didn't really like practice that much. I was like, shit, she knew.
It's like,
called out.
She knew. I think
she figured out.
I think she may have figured it out during rehearsal time, because for the rehearsals I actually practiced. Because my mom told me if I did the rehearsal well, I got to quit. So I was like, okay, well, I'll give it effort. So I think she noticed
what a motivation.
the immense jump in skill or in playing ability as soon as I had a reason to quit, and she must have been like, wait a minute.
This man's been playing me the whole time.
Maybe she knew before that. She was a good teacher. She knew.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. This has been a good talk. I think we're all in a pretty good place now. I think it's important to include that like there's a lot of ups and downs. Obviously, it's not like just a straight line upwards, but I think we can all pretty confidently say we're in much better places than we were like 5-6 years ago. So at least in terms of like, just
5 years ago. What's 5 years ago? 2023, 2018.
2018, yeah.
I wouldn't be too confident on that. Definitely a better place than 3 years ago.
5 years ago? Actually, I think, I don't know if I shared this, but like if we wanted to share it for the podcast, I have the letter to myself. That I wrote.
Okay. We'll have to save it. We'll have to save that. But absolutely, I want to hear that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I actually wrote okay, no, I'll save that too. But yeah, okay, great. All right. Let's end. Okay. As always, thank you so much for dropping in and listening to us ramble. You can find us on youtube.com/@thederailledpodcast. That's youtube.com/@thederailledpodcast with a new episode every Tuesday. Hit the subscribe button if you want to catch our future episodes, and please hit that like button if you enjoyed the episode. This has been Derailed.
We need it for the algorithm. Feed us to the algorithm.
Yes. This has been Derailed, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.